Stop asking the universe. As much as it hurts to hear this, most people who spend years visualizing a new life, writing affirmations in the morning, and repeating mantras before sleep remain stuck in exactly the same place. Not because the universe is unfair, not because of a lack of faith, not because there is some mysterious spiritual blockage, but because the signal emanating from their bodies, 24 hours a day, contradicts everything their mouths are asking for. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly the biological error that is sabotaging your every attempt to manifest a different reality, and how a little-known engineer named Itzhak Bentov, decades before it became trendy to talk about quantum physics and neuroscience, discovered the exact 5-step protocol to reprogram your transmission system and finally tune your body to the frequency of what you say you want. Pay attention, because once you understand this, it is impossible to keep fooling yourself into thinking you are asking, when in fact you are shielding. Itzhak Bentov was not a guru, not a stage mystic, not a coach. He was a biomedical engineer, an inventor of surgical instruments, a researcher who looked at the human being as he looked at a circuit, a living system of wave transmission and reception. And he asserted with an almost clinical calm that every human body functions as an antenna. Every heartbeat emits a measurable electromagnetic field. Every brainwave is literally a frequency. And the emotional state sustained throughout the day is not internal decoration, not just mood, not just psychology. It is the signal your body is dumping into the field every second. What he realized, and what few have the courage to say with such clarity, is that most people fail at manifestation not because they are asking incorrectly, but because the internal state from which they ask is completely incoherent with what they verbalize. The mouth says, prosperity. The body vibrates in panic. The mouth says love. The body trembles in rejection. The mouth says healing. The body holds tension like someone holding a knife, and the field reads the body, never the mouth. That is why saying I deserve it 1,000 times a day, with a clenched jaw and a knot in the stomach, changes absolutely nothing. The body is screaming, I do not trust, and that is the transmission that goes on air. The fundamental error of manifestation, according to Bentov, does not lie in the intention. It lies in the incoherence between what the mind declares and what the nervous system confesses. And as long as this rift exists, any visualization technique becomes private theater. You can act out prosperity for 30 minutes in the morning, but it is the frequency you emit during the other 23.5 hours that builds the reality that appears at your door. To truly understand this, you need to abandon the childish idea that the universe is a waiter waiting for your order. The universe, in the model Bentov proposed, is a field of coherent information that reflects back to you that which your body is emitting predominantly, not sporadically, predominantly. And the human nervous system is an absolutely efficient machine for one thing: repeating the emotional past. The brain is not a neutral receiver of reality. It is a generator, a projector that decides what will be perceived as real, based on the biochemical state the body is already accustomed to living in. When you wake up, and the first heartbeat already enters hurry mode, when the thought that crosses your mind in the first 60 seconds is a financial worry, when your shoulders rise even before your feet touch the floor, the brain has already sent the body the chemical instruction for the day. And it is this chemical instruction, this cascade of cortisol, adrenaline, and old neuronal patterns that defines your frequency. The conscious mind, with all its power of imagination, represents a tiny slice of time. The rest is the subconscious, operating on autopilot, repeating beliefs installed at an age you don't even quite remember, reacting to the world with filters that were built before you were 7 years old. And when your conscious mind decides to manifest abundance, but your subconscious keeps running the old program of money is dangerous, love always hurts, if I prosper they will hate me, what comes out of your body is a mixed signal, a noise, static. You are literally broadcasting two contradictory messages at the same time, and the field simply returns what weighs more. And guess what weighs more? The subconscious. Always. Because it is the one that commands the body's chemistry the minute you aren't paying attention. That is why you can manage to maintain discipline for 4 weeks, and then, In the fifth week, sabotage everything. Return to the same spending pattern, to the same type of relationship, to the same feeling of "I almost made it." It is not a character flaw, it is biological coherence. Your body is bringing you back to the frequency where it feels at home, even if that home is in ruins. And as long as you don't see this, you will keep trying to win against an invisible system with weapons that don't work on it. And this is exactly where I need to interrupt you before continuing, because I know that something inside you just recognized this description, this pattern of asking, sabotaging, asking again, sabotaging again, feeling with each cycle that something is pulling you down, even when everything should be going right. This is not a coincidence, this is not a curse, this is not a lack of worthiness. This is your nervous system operating on a scarcity identity, installed over years. And no financial spreadsheet, no motivational book, no isolated affirmation will overwrite this programming while you don't perform a direct bypass of the biology. That is why I prepared the Imán da Prosperidade for you. It is a 28-day journey, day after day, designed to reprogram your internal field, dissolve the scarcity identity cell by cell, and make you embody the frequency of real, spiritual, emotional, and financial abundance. It is not theory. It is not reading. It is not more information accumulated on top of a locked frequency. It is a practical protocol that enters at the exact time your subconscious is open and imprints the new state directly onto the body. The link is in the first pinned comment. It is the first comment pinned right up there. Before continuing with me, go down, click, and secure yours. And down here, I want you to write in the comments, in no uncertain terms, "Eu sou coerente." If you understood that from today on you stop sending mixed signals, write "Eu sou coerente." This is your identity command. From the moment you type it, something reorganizes in the field. Now I need to give you the method itself, because without the protocol, all this understanding just turns into another pretty video you watched. Bentov organized in 5 steps, a process that seems simple on the surface, but that, when executed with precision, rewrites the way your nervous system emits a signal. The first step is to silence the internal dialogue. It's not about meditating for 10 hours, it's about interrupting for a few minutes this uninterrupted loop of commentary that the mind makes about everything. Because as long as the mental noise is loud, any intention you try to plant is muffled by the 1,000 previous voices. The second step is to bring attention to the heart, literally. Feeling the chest, feeling the pulse, stop living exclusively in your head. Bentov was obsessed with the idea that the heart is not just a mechanical pump, it is a center that generates an electromagnetic field, and when the brain and the heart enter into coherence, the transmission becomes clear. The third step is to install the emotional state corresponding to the goal. And here is the point where 90% of people go wrong. You do not ask for the goal. You feel the state of the one who is already living it. You do not ask prosperity. You occupy the body of someone who is prosperous. You do not beg for love. You inhabit the emotional state of someone who is already loved. This changes the entire chemistry. It changes your posture. It changes your breathing. It changes your neurotransmitters. The fourth step is to experience this state as present, and this is surgical. It is not projecting into the future. It is not, "One day I will feel this." It is declaring to your biology that this is already happening now. Because the nervous system does not distinguish, it merely registers the chemistry of the now. And the fifth step is to conclude with confident detachment, to let go without giving up. Not checking every hour to see if it has arrived, not tearing up the letter you planted, trusting that the signal is in the air and continuing to live from this new state. 5 steps. It seems simple, but the goal of these 5 steps is not to convince the universe of absolutely anything. The universe does not need to be convinced. The goal is to reorganize your nervous system so that it stops emitting the old signal and begins to emit coherently and continuously the new signal. It is a surgery on yourself. It was never about the universe. And here comes the question that separates those who understand from those who just watch. Why, even after executing the 5 steps, do so many people still return to the old pattern the very next day? The answer lies in the subconscious, and more specifically in the reprogramming window that few people know about. The subconscious, in the description Bentov gave, functions as a gigantic archive of accumulated conditioning, an emotional library that stores every intense experience you have lived, and especially those from early life, when the critical filter did not yet exist. This archive is directed by a kind of guardian, and for most of the day, especially when you are in a state of full wakefulness, in beta waves, this guardian blocks attempts to rewrite the old records. That is why repeating a prosperity phrase in the middle of traffic does not work. The guardian reads the phrase, compares it to the archive, realizes it contradicts everything inside, and discards it. But there is a window. There is a moment when this guardian relaxes. And this window is the state of theta waves, which happens naturally in the minutes immediately before you fall asleep, and in the minutes immediately after you wake up. In these two narrow corridors, the brain is at a slower frequency, the critical filter becomes permeable, and any emotional state you install in these moments is recorded directly into the archive, without resistance, without censorship, without needing to convince anyone. And that is why you spend years repeating affirmations in the middle of the day, without any result, and it only takes 5 minutes before sleeping, in the right state, feeling the right state, to begin rewriting entire layers of old programming. Most people throw this window away. They grab their cell phone, dive into news, into gossip, into collective fears, into cortisol stimulants, exactly at the time when the brain was about to open itself to receive a new instruction. And they imprint on the subconscious exactly what will sabotage the entire next day. Look, if you are still here with me, it is because something inside you knows it needs to enter this window. O Imán da Prosperidade was designed exactly to occupy these surgical minutes, with the right emotional state, in the right sequence, for 28 days in a row. You cannot do it alone by improvising. First pinned comment, secure your spot before continuing the video. Those who decide later, forget it. Those who click now, become. Because there is one more layer that needs to get into your head, and this layer is perhaps the most uncomfortable of all. The reality that appears in your life does not reflect the 30 minutes you dedicate to visualization practices. Reality reflects the predominant emotional frequency that you sustain during the other 23.5 hours. Bentov called this, quite directly, the base frequency. It is the automatic emotional state that accompanies you while you shower, while you brush your teeth, while you reply to messages, while you drive, while you take an annoying call, while you open your banking app, while you sleep. This frequency is your identity card in the field. It is what defines what draws near, what pulls away, who appears, who disappears, which opportunity lands in your hands, and which one brushes past on the other side of the street. And here is the uncomfortable point. No matter how beautiful your morning visualization may be, if the base frequency carrying your body throughout the rest of the day is irritation, anxiety, comparison, jealousy, hurry, resentment, these are the real signals being read. The visualization becomes a private illusion. The base state becomes public destiny. And real transformation, according to Bentov, depends on one specific thing, changing the automatic emotional state, not the occasional peak. It's no use shouting gratitude for 10 minutes if you spend 4 hours in silence grumbling about your life. It's no use giving thanks before sleeping if you spend your day in a state of complaint. It's no use declaring abundance if your body spends the day in a state of financial defense. The base frequency, the neutral state, what you feel when no one is watching and when nothing is stimulating you, this is your true vibrational level. And only when this frequency changes does reality change. And this leads you straight into the cruelest cycle of human existence, the cycle between internal state and external reality. It works like this, and I want you to feel it in your flesh, because it is where you are likely trapped right now. Your internal state emits a signal. This signal pulls compatible events, people, and situations. These situations arrive at your door. You react to them with the same chemistry as always. This reaction reinforces the old internal state. And the reinforced internal state emits the same signal again, stronger. You have just created a closed loop. A loop that feeds on its own reaction. This is why people who live in scarcity find, throughout their lives, more and more proof of scarcity. Not because the world is unfair, but because their nervous system reacts to each new event as if it were confirmation of the old internal state. And the universe, reading this reaction, gives back more of the same. To break out of this loop, there is only one door, and this door is not on the outside. You do not exit the cycle by waiting for reality to change first so you can feel better. You do not exit the cycle by waiting for your salary to increase to stop living in panic. You do not exit the cycle by waiting for your partner to improve so you can trust. You exit the cycle by changing the internal state first and maintaining this new state even when external reality is still showing the old version. Because there is an interval, there is a delay between the moment you change the signal and the moment the field begins to reflect the new signal. And it is in this interval that 99% of people give up. They change their state for 3 days, look at reality still the same, conclude it doesn't work, return to the old state, and the loop closes again. Those who understand this mechanics no longer fall into this trap. They know they are planting. They know the soil needs time to respond. They know the only thing that can ruin the harvest is themselves digging up the seed to check. And it is exactly in this interval that you need a structure, because your isolated willpower does not overcome the gravitational pull of the emotional past. 28 days of directed application in the theta window with the emotional state anchored is the minimum time described by the science of neural plasticity for a new pathway to begin to take hold. O Imán da Prosperidade was built to hold you in this interval, to stop you from digging up the seed, to keep you coherent during the exact period in which the universe is calibrating the response. It is not just another course. It is a maintenance protocol of the new identity during the 28 most delicate days of your reprogramming. First pinned comment, that is where the access is. If you have made it this far into the video and still haven't clicked, ask yourself honestly what you are waiting for. The next crisis, the next bill, the next relationship that repeats the same pattern? The opportunity is not the product. The opportunity is to decide, right now, to break the cycle before your body takes you back to the automatic pattern. Comment also, "Eu escolho o novo estado," because every word of that is a piece of the new identity being declared in public, and the subconscious takes that seriously. And to close this broadcast, I need you to sit with a truth that inverts everything you have been sold about manifestation. It is not the achievement of the goal that transforms the person. It never was. It is the consistent adoption of the internal state corresponding to the goal before the results appear that reorganizes the nervous system, redefines the baseline frequency, and triggers the reorganization of external reality. You will not become prosperous when the money arrives. The money will arrive when you are already vibrating as someone prosperous. You will not feel worthy when someone loves you. You will be loved for real when you have already installed dignity in your body. You will not relax when life finally calms down. Life will calm down when you decide, at the biological level, that you no longer need to live in an emergency. This is the inversion. And those who understand this inversion stop waiting for life to begin. They begin first. They live first. They embody first. And the universe, this beautiful field of coherence, inevitably ends up returning the corresponding reflection. Itzhak Bentov died decades ago, but what he left behind was a silent manual for anyone willing to stop asking and start becoming. The real work was never to convince the universe. The real work is to observe, with brutal honesty, who you are being most of the time. Because it is that person and not the version from your 30 minutes of visualization who is building your reality this very second. And now you know this. And there is no way to undo this knowledge. You can close this video. Go back to your phone, let your body fall back into the same chemical pattern as always. Wake up tomorrow in the same baseline state, and reality will deliver you exactly the same day it has been delivering for years. Or you can understand that biology is waiting for a new instruction, and that this instruction is not given by desire, it is given by execution. The field is open. The window exists. The protocol is described. The only variable missing is you deciding whether you will continue sending mixed signals for the rest of your life, or if you will, starting today, become someone coherent. Decide. And decide now, because your body does not wait. It keeps on emitting, with or without your consciousness. The question is only, emitting what?